I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the au pair affair double murder case. Allegations that the au pair was sleeping with the victim's husband, who planned the murder of his wife, and a man responding to an advertisement about kinky sex. Here's the story. Brendan and Christine Banfield were married with a small child. They lived in a beautiful $1 million home in the D.C. suburbs in Herndon, Virginia. Brendan worked for the government as an armed IRS law enforcement agent. To help with their small child, the Banfields hired an au pair. Her name was Juliana Magalhaes, and she was from Brazil. Everything seemed to be very normal with his family until the morning of February 24th, 2023. On that morning, a man named Joseph Ryan showed up at the house. He was responding to an ad on a fetish website for a woman who was into BDSM, cutting, and knife play. The ad was placed from Christine Banfield's computer. What happened next that morning is not 100% clear, but the results are. Christine Banfield was stabbed and killed. Joseph Ryan was shot and killed. Juliana, the au pair, called 911. So did Brendan Banfield. Then months later, Juliana was arrested and charged with murder. Then prosecutors charged Brendan Banfield with murder. And in another twist, prosecutors gave the au pair a deal, changing her murder charge to manslaughter. So now, in this case, we have 2 dead bodies, 2 defendants, and a whole lot of unanswered questions. This is a story and an alleged murder plot unlike one I've ever seen in all my years of covering cases involving love triangles and you know, people cheating on their spouses. This one goes beyond anything I've ever seen, the allegations. So on the morning that all this happens, 911 is called, they respond, they have their body cameras on. Take a look and a listen as the responding officer speaks with the au pair.
Hey, Paul, or Jose. You got back with I need you to watch out, Matt.
There's a dog back there. So somebody's outside. Someone's outside in the back?
In the back?
There's a dog in the back there. Anyone else outside?
Huh?
Who else is outside?
Nobody's outside.
Anybody over here?
In my room. And here.
Here, man, stay here. Man.
Hey,
Stay over here.
who is the shooter?
Who shot who?
Brendan, he's an officer.
I got a blowout kit if you need it.
Bring it up.
Is there anyone else in the house? Any kids in the house? Okay.
Yeah, if you want, I'll hold down here.
Okay.
Bring her down here, and we can get info directly from her.
Hey, help me.
Can you come down with me?
Anybody else have a blowout kit? She's breathing. She's got a lot of stab wounds.
I think Zach just said
My
We're getting the ambulance here now.
My host kid is downstairs.
Okay.
I'm here.
How old's your host kid?
She's 4.5.
4.5. Where is she?
I need to talk to her. She doesn't know anything. What's
Can we get her and we'll go outside?
Yeah, I'm gonna get her.
Where do we plug it?
She's grabbing their 4-year-old. We're gonna go outside.
It's interesting to see this responding video. It's a somewhat chaotic situation inside that home, but they do speak with the au pair about what's going on here, which brings me to my first question of our investigation tonight. What did the au pair tell the responding officers? What's her story? To help break it all down and make some sense of it, joining us, former homicide detective and host of The Interview Room, Chris McDonough, and forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and author, columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Thank you both for joining us. I want to play one more piece of the body cam video so we can sort of analyze it and break it down here as the au pair tells the responding officer her initial story of what happened.
I was going out with Juliana. Laura is her daughter.
Okay, yep, she's sitting on there.
And then I forgot our lunch to bring it, and I And I called her, why the car is here? I don't know who it is, but it was a straight to voicemail, so I couldn't talk to her. And then I called Brendan, her husband.
Okay.
And then he said, wait for me, I'll go there. Don't go inside with Valerie. And then he came back here. And we went inside. And then we went upstairs first, and then I went to see what's going on. And I heard the guy was, I don't know who was. I don't know what he was doing. It's spanking her. I don't know.
What?
It's spanking her. I heard, like, I don't know what was that. And Brendan said, please drop the knife, because he had a knife. And then he said, drop the gun to Brendan. They were yelling. I couldn't understand. We were super fast.
Okay. You want me to see if I can try to get you some water? Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I have you both here. Dr. Carol Lieberman, I want to begin with you and get each of your perspectives on what you're seeing and what you're hearing from the au pair as she tells the first responding officer what is happening and what happened inside this home.
Well, first of all, she looks very different than her other picture, her sexy picture. You know, here she looks all distraught, but all, you know, with the glasses and all that, clearly designed to make herself look unattractive. And how she describes things, it is rather hard to follow, but you know, she's trying to, it's an acting job. It's basically an acting job. I think she should stop being an au pair and she should be an actress.
What do you think of her demeanor? The shaking, the breathlessness,
Yes.
the sitting down in the moment there.
Yes, all of that was very, very dramatic, overly dramatic. And, you know, it's interesting. The part that particularly caught my attention was when she said, you know, we came in and he was spanking her. Now, maybe he was because he expected it to be an S&M kind of rendezvous. But if he wasn't, she just added that, you know, maybe because she knows that that's what you do when you're having a BDSM rendezvous. But, you know, the spanking part, that was a touch, an added touch.
All right, Chris McDonough, homicide detective, host of The Interview Room. What are you seeing and what are you hearing from this au pair?
Well, the first thing I noticed, Vinnie, is when they escorted her out of the bedroom, she has the consciousness of, you know, frame of mind to pick up her phone. And then as she gets down to the bottom of the steps, she starts going into this, you know, dramatic, you know, hyperventilating. But I noticed on her left hand, I can't tell from this body camera exactly, but it looks like she may have some blood on her left hand. And when she flips her hands over, you can kind of see it. And then she puts her hand through her hair. But you can see a discoloration there. And that, to me, I was thinking, you know, if I was standing there, that officer may have caught that right away if in fact that was something that was connected to the crime scene. But the fact that she picked up her phone and then she came downstairs to tell this story, that hyperventilation, she's thinking about what she wants to say. And as Dr. Lieberman said, you know, most people in that type of shock, they're not that conscious to reach over and grab their telephone. This is a bad deal going on here.
Dr. Lieberman, let's talk about how this au pair ends up in this situation. She's allegedly and apparently having some sort of a relationship with the husband/father of the child that she's watching and ends up mixed up in all of this. What are your thoughts about it? You know, 22-year-old coming over from another country, comes from Brazil to the United States, ends up in a home. It's a loving home with a husband and a wife and a child, and somehow she ends up like we see her in these photos.
Yes, well, I don't think it took long for her to think of herself as, you know, wouldn't it be nice if I could replace the wife? Look at this life that she has, this beautiful house. I'm not so sure if she, you know, really wanted the baby necessarily, but that was part of the deal. I want to be her. I want to take her place. I mean, that's sort of a, you know, the moral of this story is don't hire au pairs that look like her. You know, of course, the husband was having affairs too. It wasn't just about her, but they kind of met and matched. You know, their desires matched. But one thing that I think is that one of the two of them, if not both, has to know about or has to have been engaged in at some point BDSM themselves for them to think of this intricate plot.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think of this alleged plot that came down? Have you ever seen or heard anything quite this detailed and intricate?
Actually, I haven't been. This is an extremely, you know, thought through plan, if in fact this is, you know, premeditated. And the fact that, you know, she kind of mixed her story up a little bit when, you know, spontaneously she said, you know, drop the gun, you know, the knife. And, you know, she kind of corrected herself pretty quickly. And that officer did a good job because he was dealing with so much with the little kid, with the paramedics coming on scene. So he had his hands full, but he was paying attention. There's no doubt about that.
And the other thing, Dr. Carol Lieberman, there's a 4.5-year-old child in the basement of this home. That's the other part, is seemingly unconscionable in all of this.
Yes, and she really did not seem to be very concerned about the well-being of that child, you know, like the psychological impact of this trauma. It was more the policeman who seemed to care about what this poor child was going through.
All right, Dr. Carol Lieberman, Chris McDonough, thanks. Coming up next, why did Juliana Magalhaes, the au pair, what did she say during her plea?
Brendan, he's in one of the police cars. I'm not sure where he is.
Weeknights on Court TV.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments. We have a big hour ahead here.
Your deplorable actions are unforgivable.
The community still doesn't know how this Boston police officer died.
He can't prove one element of his case.
It was a dramatic day, a dramatic moment inside the courtroom.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Weeknights at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
The guy, I don't know who it is, he was spanking her. I was just here.
Were you here when it happened, or did you walk up in there and
yeah, he went upstairs first, and then I went to see what's going on. I left Valerie in the basement, and then when I went upstairs, Brendan was saying, "Police, drop the knife, drop the knife."
So, Brendan's a police officer.
Yeah, he's an officer.
Well, he's not actually a police officer. He's an IRS agent, an armed IRS agent. But yeah, he is part of law enforcement for the IRS. That's the au pair, Juliana Magalhaes. And let me put up on the screen what she was charged with when she got arrested after the investigation. The original charge was second-degree murder. And that was count one. Count two was using a firearm in the commission of a felony. She was going to go away for a long, long, long time. But she entered a plea deal and will now and has pleaded guilty to manslaughter and potentially could be getting out soon on a timed served deal. So she entered a deal, she entered a plea. That brings me to my next question about this investigation, which is about the au pair. What did Juliana Magalhaes say during her plea? You know, you have to put that factual basis there. Prosecutors want to lock you into something. Joining me to help go through all of this, he served as special trial counsel to Johnny Depp in his defamation case, trial attorney Wayne Dennison, and podcast host and Pop Crime TV reporter Lauren Conlon with us. Thank you both for being here. Wayne, this case in Fairfax County, Virginia, in the same courthouse, the same courtroom with the same judge that handled your case with Johnny Depp. Give me your reaction to that. How do you think this judge will handle a case like this?
I think she's a very, very good judge. No nonsense, very smart, extremely well respected. You know, the very first thing she did was refuse to give bail to the new defendant, and she's just a very, very good judge. And I don't think that there's going to be many antics in that courtroom. She's quite skilled at her jurisprudence.
No shenanigans. Let's take a look, Lauren, here at the au pair on the body camera video telling her original story.
He was saying, drop
The knife or the gun?
the gun. And Brendan said, no, please don't drop the knife. And he was saying, I'm gonna kill her, I'm gonna kill her. And I don't know, he started stabbing her. I think Brendan shot him, and he asked me help to shot him too because...
Lauren, and I'm asking a lot of people, everyone tonight, your reaction to that video and that statement, that story that she's telling, because she's telling a different story now.
I'm disturbed, Vinny, and she's telling a much different story now. There are so many red flags when you watch that body cam footage. I mean, something I picked up on is, and I believe one of your other guests said this, seemed to care much for the young daughter who was 4.5 years old. The way she talks to her in the basement, kind of like, come on, get up, we have to go. That was pretty horrific to me. And additionally, when she's talking about Christine outside, you know, the woman that she works for, the woman that she lived with, the woman that entrusted her with her child, she refers to her as the girl. Again, distancing. She does not want to be associated with this crime whatsoever because she has guilt.
Absolutely. And she pleaded guilty. Let's take a look at some of the details that came out and how her story changed during her plea hearing. Here's new details. First of all, prosecutors say that Brendan Banfield, the father/husband, told Juliana, the au pair, he desired to be rid of his wife and started plotting her murder. Brendan Banfield created a fake FetLife account for his wife, Christine. Once they connected with Joseph Ryan, Magalhaes pretended to be Christine Banfield on a voice call. So they're luring this guy, Joseph Ryan, through this FetLife fetish website. At various points before the 24th, Magalhaes expressed to Brendan Banfield that she did not believe he would go through with this plan, and at other times she told him she did not want to continue. The day of the murders, Brendan Banfield turned his wife's cell phone off and placed it in a kitchen drawer. Both Brendan Banfield and Juliana Magalhaes were holding their guns as they entered the bedroom. Brendan Banfield called out police officer and shot Joseph Ryan. Brendan Banfield stabs his wife, Christine. Magalhaes saw Ryan moving in the bedroom and shot him again. So both the husband and the au pair shoot the man who's responding, expecting a day of kinky sex, and it's Brendan who stabs his wife. Wayne Dennison, what do you think about this story, and do you trust it?
Well, I think in order to get the plea deals, she was going to definitely have to roll over on the husband. And this story reflects the notion that she rolled over pretty hard in order to barter for a way out. You talk about a relationship, however, where these au pair relationships, where somebody comes in from Brazil, there are enormous power differences. There's an enormous ability to exploit the person who comes in. And sometimes these go down a very, very bad road. And this is one of those times.
Let me ask you, Lauren, what are your thoughts about the relationship? Like, does it matter who started this affair?
I don't think it matters who started this silly cliche affair, Vinny. I mean, it's sickening. I think I've said this before. Why can't you just leave your wife? Why do you have to go through this disgusting, twisted, evil plot and plan. And look, Juliana, she was absolutely impressionable. The power dynamic there, you know, there's really, it's no contest. However, you always have a choice in life. I think I've taught my kids this since they were 3 years old. You have a choice. I don't care that she's adding, oh, I didn't want to go through with it. Well, you did go through with it. And now a little girl is left without a mother and another innocent man lost his life. So yeah, I mean, this whole thing, I completely got off track, Vinny, but it just disturbs me to my core.
We have about 15, 20 seconds left here. Wayne, what are your thoughts about this deal she got for manslaughter and may very well get time served and be out soon?
Boy, she better be a very effective witness in the next prosecution because she got a sweet, sweet deal.
Yeah, super sweet deal. Again, this is a story unlike anyone I have ever covered or come across because of the absolute evil involved in the plot and what they did, not only to Christine, but to this guy. Yeah, he's into BDSM, but they lured him into this whole thing and then knowing they were going to take his life as well. Wayne Dennison, Lauren Conlon, great to see you. Thanks so much. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as our investigation continues. I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the au pair affair murder case. A man responded to an ad allegedly from a woman seeking kinky sex early in the morning. That man was shot, the woman was stabbed, and her husband and the au pair are accused of orchestrating all of it. Here's the story. Christine Banfield was married to IRS law enforcement agent Brendan Banfield. They lived in the leafy D.C. suburb of Herndon, Virginia. Together, they had a child who was 4 years old. The couple hired an au pair from Brazil named Juliana Magalhaes to help with their daughter. On the morning of February 24th, 2023, a man named Joseph Ryan showed up at the house. He was responding to a BDSM ad from a woman looking for some rough sex and knife play. What happened that morning inside the Banfields' home is now the subject of a murder trial. Christine was stabbed and killed, while Joseph Ryan was shot and killed. Prosecutors say it was the husband, Brendan, and the au pair, Juliana, who are responsible. Prosecutors have given the au pair a deal, and she will likely testify against her former lover, Brendan. Exactly what happened that morning is murky, to say the least, and it will be up to a jury to figure it all out. It's a complicated murder plot. It's not a classic murder plot at all. It's set up to try to pin it on someone else who can't speak for himself because he gets shot during the whole thing. And that's Joseph Ryan, the man who was allegedly lured to the house that morning by the au pair and by Brendan Banfield. So the investigation begins, and it starts as, well, the guy's an IRS agent, he's law enforcement, he's defending his wife, trying to save her life, and she gets killed by this man. So the question is, at what point does he become a suspect? Take a listen here to Chief Kevin Davis from the Fairfax County Police Department.
What point did Brendan become a suspect in this case? I know initially the narrative was that Joseph stabbed Christine. At what point did you stop believing that and begin to look at Brendan?
So that kind of gets back to our efforts to kind of describe gently that we can't go into certain aspects of the case, and that's one of them. So again, there's a jury that will assemble, and they're going to hear these facts in much greater detail than you're hearing them today.
Okay, so let's remember again, Joseph Ryan gets shot, and it's admitted by Brendan and by the au pair that they both shot him. But Christine Banfield was stabbed to death, which brings me to my next question. Who stabbed Christine Banfield? Was it Joseph Ryan? Was it part of the kinky game they were playing? Was it the au pair? Was it Brendan? And when did they do it? Let me bring in my guest, going to help us through all this. Joining me, former homicide detective Chris McDonough and podcast host and Pop Crime TV reporter Lauren Conlon. Looking at the scenario, the way it was described by the au pair is that they go into the bedroom, they both have guns, and they shoot Joseph Ryan, and then the au pair says in her plea that Brendan then stabs Christine. Chris, does that make sense to you? Because I'm trying to figure out how on earth this stranger, Joseph Ryan, ends up in the house, in the bedroom with Christine, without them being there first.
Yeah, no, initially, Vinnie, it doesn't make sense because there's a couple of considerations that the investigators are going to take into play almost immediately. And that the number one is going to be the blood spatter analysis. They're going to be able to tell pretty quickly who's been stabbing who. And that's because, you're going to see impressions on the sheets. You're going to see cast off on the walls. You're going to have it on, the type of knife. Also the shoes. Shoes on everybody are really critical because when somebody is shot, then you get what you call high velocity blood spatter, meaning the blood droplets are much smaller and they go, much quicker because of the velocity of a bullet. But with a knife, they're much slower, so you get much more blood. And I guarantee you that will play a huge part to figure out who was stabbing who. And then that gun story of both of them toting guns, may not fall into place.
Lauren Conlon, I'm trying to understand how Christine Banfield, who everything we know about her, she's just a nice woman, a great mom, a faithful wife. She's not calling up Joseph Ryan to come by early in the morning for this kinky knife play, sex, BDSM episode. So I'm wondering how on earth Joseph Ryan even gets inside the house if she's alive and gets into the bedroom with her if she is alive at that moment. To me, that doesn't make sense. I don't even think she would open the door for this guy.
You're right, Vinny. And again, there's so much that we don't know at this moment. What I'm thinking is that Juliana was communicating with him, with Joseph Ryan, over Telegram as Christine. Perhaps she said, I'm going to leave the door open, come in this way, and then he walked in. And look, I think about Christine's last moments. Did she see this stranger walk in her house? Did she see Juliana and Brendan come in toting guns? And did she witness Brendan and then Juliana shoot him? And then to have her stand there in such fear or whatever it was that she was doing and then be attacked and murdered allegedly by her own husband is unspeakable, Vinny. And I've been playing this out in my head because I don't know the layout of the house, but what we do know is that it was believed that their bodies were moved. Christine and Joseph's bodies were moved to look like he was attacking her. So that goes back to the blood spatter. I mean, you have to think, was there blood in the hallway? Was there, blood on the stairs? There's so many questions that we don't have answers to yet.
Let's get to that forensics report, Chris, that Lauren's talking about here. Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield's bodies were allegedly repositioned after they were fatally wounded. So he's shot, he's repositioned. She's stabbed, she's repositioned. Blood spatter evidence allegedly indicates that Brendan Banfield smeared blood from Christine Banfield onto the body of Joseph Ryan. That is a crucial piece of this evidence.
Yeah, this is devastating, actually, and it kind of goes what we were just talking about, Vinny. It's like, you have this malice aforethought, this evil intent to the point where you're taking your wife's blood and you're transferring it, to this guy that you've catfished and lured into this home. This is some real, evil action taking place here in this home. And the fact that their daughter was home, downstairs in the basement, I mean, this just takes it to another level.
It's dark. But Lauren, if we talk about the repositioning and they have the forensic evidence to prove this in court, well, that has to match the story that the au pair is telling. And I don't know if it is at this point. I don't know if it is, because I don't know how detailed she's going to give as an account. It obviously doesn't match what she said on the body cam, because that was just a lie, right? At her plea, she seemed to get a few more details in there, but it's important for the prosecution of this IRS agent who's going to come in with a big-time attorney and is going to fight this in whatever way he can. But to me, her story has to match up with the evidence. So she's going to have to explain what they did with these bodies.
Yes, and I think that at this point, Fairfax County is doing an incredible job of keeping this case very close to the chest here. They are not letting anything out. And I've told you, I've tried to get information. And so the prosecutor even said in court that he's not explaining a lot. A lot of this stuff is confidential, and it will come out during Brendan Banfield's trial. So I think that we do have to have faith in the fact that this is a big deal. This plea deal that she got was sweet. So we have to have faith in the fact that they believe they are going to get a conviction with her testimony. And this kills me, Vinnie. This guy, Brendan Banfield, picture him walking around the last year thinking he got away with this. That moron literally thought he got away with a double murder. And I hope this trial is televised. I hope it is, because I cannot wait to watch it.
Oh, Court TV will be there, absolutely. Chris, so you look at some of the evidence in this case, and I'm thinking the knife, the murder weapon, is crucial, but may have been brought there by Joseph Ryan as part of the alleged kinky sex that was requested by whoever contacted her, which we believe is the au pair.
Yeah, and if that is a possibility, isn't it even worse that the husband potentially may have gotten hold of it? And, because a knife is a very personal, type of weapon. And I would be interested to find out where this victim was stabbed. If it's in the upper, torso area and the head, that's very personal. And that would be more consistent with a husband versus somebody coming in for, a sexual escapade.
Yeah, and I'm just not sure how they could shoot him and then he can stab her. I'm trying to figure out how that would play out, but we shall see. And we'll literally see it, because Court TV will be there. Chris McDonough, Lauren Collin, thank you. Still to come, what will Brendan Banfield's defense be?
Okay, so you live here?
I'm an au pair.
You're an au pair? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It was a lot of blood.
Mr. Jeffrey, tell me what happened that night.
Killed my wife, I guess. I don't remember none of that.
You don't remember the fight with Lisa?
How many times did you hit her?
5.
You don't remember what her dead body looked like laying out there in front of you?
Not at all.
If you were me, would you believe you?
Interview with a Killer. Sunday, 8/7 Central. Only on Court TV.
You'll love. When I went upstairs, Brendan was saying, "Police, drop the knife."
So, Brendan's a police officer?
Yeah, he's an officer.
Is he with Fairfax?
No.
Where's he an officer?
I don't know. I think it's his office in Vienna.
That's the au pair talking about her lover, Brendan Banfield. He's an officer. He's an armed IRS agent. So initially, the au pair is the first one arrested in all of this. And Brendan is still walking around free until this happened. Let's take a look as he is taken into custody. Don't know if he expected it. Maybe he suspected it was possible, or maybe he knew it was going to happen, or maybe he was delusional that he wouldn't be arrested in all of this. But now we're at a different point, right? He was arrested, but now the au pair has flipped. She's taken a deal. She's agreed to testify against him. So he's the one that's going to be on trial. She's not going to be on trial. That brings me to my next question in our investigation, and it's about the husband. What will Brendan Banfield's defense be? This is a tricky one because of the alleged murder plot. Was that he's there. He shoots Joseph Ryan. Here to discuss all this and try to help me figure out what it could potentially be. He served as special trial counsel to Johnny Depp in his defamation case in the same courtroom with the same judge, trial attorney Wayne Dennison, and former homicide prosecutor and co-host of Primetime Crime on YouTube, Jarrett Ferrantino is with us. Great to have you both here. Jarrett, let me start with you. Like, where does he go with the defense here? Is he going to point the finger that it was the au pair that did all this? But he's there with the gun. He's law enforcement. He's the IRS agent. He's the husband. He's the father. What are your thoughts?
Vinny, great to be with you. My thoughts are this. He's really running out of options. His only option here is to point the finger at the au pair. He's going to say she's lying. She lied to the police when they arrived. She has the motivation to lie. She's now getting this great deal, a plea to manslaughter, which sounds like maybe a sentence to time served. She is the one who had the motivation to commit this crime. She wanted the house. She wanted the life with Brandon. She's the one who rused Joseph Ryan there to the house. You got to point the finger back at Juliana when she's pointing it at Brandon.
Well, there is one, I think it's a big issue that he'll have at trial, among other things, I think we have to admit. If you take a look at some of the evidence photos, and we begin by looking at Juliana's guest room closet in February of 2023, and you look there, you see the bed, you see the closet, there's an arrow pointing to a very particular piece of Brazilian activewear, so to speak, right? Then we flash forward to October 13th of 2023, and the guest room and the closet are empty. So we head over to the primary bedroom, and we go to the closet, and oh my goodness, looks like Juliana's moved in there. There's her clothes. And then let's take a look at the photo next to the bed in the primary bedroom. What's in that? Wait a minute. Is that the au pair and Brendan together? I think we've got a photo of them in a hot tub too. Wayne Dennison, with that in mind, how does he explain that at trial? With a straight face.
Well, all of that is perfectly consistent with the notion that the au pair really wanted to take on the role of the wife and wanted to put herself in the position where she's now the person who is running this household and is in fact achieved her goal by seducing him. There's a substantial difference between that body cam video and, quite frankly, whatever she's going to have to testify to in Brendan's trial. And he's going to make her look to be a liar, and a liar who benefits enormously from a plea deal. But I think there's a really consistent argument that says this is all about her wanting to be the new queen of the house.
I think we've seen this movie before, Jared. I'm trying to remember which movie it was, but the nanny comes in and, you know, becomes obsessed with the husband/father and the child as well.
I believe we're going to age ourselves. We're going to age ourselves. It was The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Vinny.
Bingo. Bingo. That's exactly it. Here's the difference.
Don't say what year that came out. I believe it was 92.
It was 92. Here's the problem with that, though, Jared. She's like 22 years old, new to this country, from Brazil. He's law enforcement. He handles a weapon. He's a pretty smart guy, works for the IRS. How difficult of a sell do you think it will be to try to make it out that the 22-year-old from Brazil was the hand that rocks the cradle?
Well, you know, smarter men than Mr. Banfield have been played by younger, attractive women. That's just the way it is. She's got to be sold as a master manipulator. And as a prosecutor, when you prepare a co-defendant who turns state's evidence, you look for physical evidence that supports their version of events. And the prosecution's got to be ready to rehabilitate Juliana's previous lies and to fortify her from the attacks on her credibility that are surely going to come from Brendan's defense lawyers.
Yeah, and they've got to connect him to the knife. Prosecutors have to connect him to the knife. I think that's crucial. That'll undermine everything. Wayne, do you think he has to testify, this IRS agent?
I don't think he will ultimately testify. I don't think he has to testify. This is an effort, I think, in the first instance, to put the au pair on trial, and to some extent, to the degree that they can do it, and without absolutely enraging the jury, there's some possibility that we're going to put the wife on trial.
Wow. Well, you think they may actually argue that Christine was into this BDSM, kinky sex, and may have actually lured Joseph Ryan there herself?
No, I think whatever evidence they have of any infidelity in the course of that marriage will be elevated into that type of an argument. But that's the guy has very, very limited options.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I agree. Once she flipped, it was over. Once she flipped, I think it was over for him. But he'll have a defense. He's got a great lawyer. We know that. What are your thoughts about the jury, Jared? He's law enforcement, but he's also with the IRS. Is that a plus or a minus for a criminal defendant?
Well, it's a double whammy there. He's a charged wife killer and a tax collector, essentially. So you're just looking for jurors that are going to keep an open mind. You know, that I would think in this case, you're going to look for older jurors with some more life experience. This whole thing about Joe Ryan showing up there for kinky sex isn't going to play well with people, and it's going to look like a younger person manipulated this kind of a situation to an older person. So I'd be looking for an older, more experienced juror.
All right, Wayne, your thoughts about her as a witness. Do you think the jury will at all feel sorry for her, or will they kind of look at her the way they looked at Amber Heard in that same courtroom?
Well, my sense is that they're going to have to make her a sympathetic witness. I think the prosecution will spend a lot of time trying to make her a sympathetic witness. There'll be a lot of testimony over the various, the very great power differential between her and the defendant, this notion that she came from Brazil to get a job. They are going to try to make her a sympathetic witness.
We shall see. You know, out of time, Wayne. Hate to cut him off because I mean, I love all your analysis. Thanks so much, Wayne Dennison, Jarrett Ferrantino, Primetime Crime on YouTube. This au pair struck a sweet deal with prosecutors, lowering her charges from murder to manslaughter. She's getting out of prison. So the question now is, what will Brendan Banfield, the IRS agent, claim as his defense at trial? We shall see. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for the answers as the investigation continues.